the Lamb's Agenda Hoy, a weekly program on the issues that are important to America's Hispanic evangelical community: life, religious liberty, and biblical justice. I'm your host, Girien Salazar, and today we will discuss a myriad of topics ranging from making your pledge to vote this November, Pastor Sam's, Reverend Rodriguez's new book, From Survive to Thrive. We'll talk a little bit about the Better Man event happening on November 7th, and we'll be talking about last week's Lamb's Agenda Bilingual Virtual Conference. Perhaps you're tuning in and don't know who the NHCLC is, who we are, what we do. Firstly, I want to tell you that the NHCLC is a nonpartisan organization wholly committed to advancing the Lamb's agenda. What does that mean? It means that we're not committed to advancing the agenda of the elephant or advancing the agenda of the donkey, which people are very concerned about advancing those agendas. But we want to tell you that we're concerned about is advancing the Lamb's agenda. La NHCLC es una organización no partidista totalmente comprometida con el avance de la agenda del Cordero. La Conferencia Nacional del Liderazgo Cristiano Hispano es la Asociación Nacional Evangélica Hispana. The NHCLC has the privilege of serving as the National Hispanic Evangelical Association, and we lead millions of Hispanic evangelicals through our churches. We bring leadership, resources, networks to equip our churches to live out the directives of life, religious liberty, and biblical justice. Simplemente dicho, existimos para servir, representar y liderar la comunidad evangélica hispana, reconciliando el mensaje de salvación por medio de Cristo con la marcha por la justicia, toda mientras avanzamos la agenda de Cordero. That's who we are. We exist to serve, to represent, to lead the Hispanic evangelical community, to reconcile the message of salvation through Christ with the march of justice while we advance the Lamb's agenda. The NHCLC exercises prophetic leadership by reconciling the vertical and the horizontal, the image of the cross, the vertical and the horizontal planes of the Christian message. Sanctification with service, conviction with compassion, the image of Christ with the habits of Christ. Holiness and humility, John 3:16 and Matthew 25, the prophetic with the practical. And if you're just tuning in, you're tuning into the Lamb's Agenda Hoy, a weekly program dedicated to the issues that are important to the Hispanic evangelical community: life, religious liberty, and biblical justice. And today I want to begin by talking about, just briefly, about last week's Lamb's Agenda Bilingual Virtual Conference. And I want to just tell you that we were just so happy and so excited to bring you last week our Lamb's Agenda Bilingual Virtual Conference. Last week we were asking ourselves the question, can we reconcile the message of Billy Graham with the march of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.? We talked about the issues that were important to us. We spent Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday talking about these issues that help us to reconcile the message of Billy Graham with the march of Martin Luther King Jr. On Monday, we talked about life, and Pastor Sam, we were able to share two messages from Pastor Sam Rodriguez. On Tuesday, we talked about religious liberty. We had two wonderful messages from our friends at Alliance Defending Freedom by Ryan Tucker and from Voice of the Martyrs from Todd Nettleton. Shared a wonderful testimony about what's at stake when we do not allow religious liberty to thrive in nations. And so grateful for their contribution. On Wednesday, we were able to talk about biblical justice. We had Reverend Tony Suarez on the show with us, talking about biblical justice and a myriad of topics that the NHCLC is focused on that are very important to us. And then we also had Reverend Eliezer Bonilla that talked to us, what is biblical justice? And I want to thank Reverend Eliezer Bonilla for that powerful word he brought, very tangible, very practical word on how we can think about biblical justice as it pertains to the Lamb's agenda. And then on last Thursday, on October, it was last Thursday, I can't remember the date exactly, but we talked about Hispanic education. I shared a message that I shared just a few weeks ago about how we can advance Hispanic student achievement through school and through students committing to giving God their education, through parents committing to being learning heroes, through churches committing to serving their local schools, and also to demanding and asking that our school districts and our states provide a high quality, rigorous education for our students. Then we heard a wonderful message from Dr. Samuel Pagan, who just encouraged us and how we can begin as Hispanics to assume those roles in the the academy and assume those roles in leadership, but if we prepare and equip ourselves. And then we shared a wonderful topic on Friday talking about welcoming the stranger, dar la bienvenida al extranjero. Dr. Carlos Campo talked a wonderful message about the intersections and intersectionality about how we can reconcile what immigration looks like in America and how we can do that through the lens of the Bible and through our faith. And then we had a wonderful immigration panel led by Reverend Abraham Hernandez. I'm so grateful for his leadership, for bringing that panel together, using our wonderful chapter directors and our chapter teams to talk about welcoming the stranger and immigration and how we can view that through the lens of the Lamb's agenda. And lastly, on Saturday, we dedicated a full day to prayer, to talking about prayer. We heard a message from Reverend Paco Garcia that talked about the importance of prayer in today and as it relates to the Lamb's agenda in advancing life, religious liberty, and biblical justice. But we also were able to lead a panel, and we spent time with some of the chapter directors to actually pray for these issues, to pray for our leaders, to pray for the conversations that Reverend Samuel Rodriguez is having, to pray for the conversations that Reverend Tony Suarez is having, to pray for the conversations that our NHCLC leaders are having around the nation in their state capitals and their city council meetings. So we're so thankful for the leadership that the NHCLC brings. And another thing, we want to thank our sponsor from last week, Church Mutual. They were able to help sponsor our virtual conference last week. And I want to go ahead and just take a moment just to share a brief video from them. They were so wonderful to be able to help us to promote that conference and to provide that conference for you. And we want to let you know that Church Mutual just really cares about the Hispanic community and wants to and continue to invest in the Hispanic community and make sure that the Hispanic community is thriving in many, many ways. And so I want to share this video with you.
For more than 120 years, we've been there in churches and schools, nonprofit and human service organizations, camps and senior living communities. We've been there in times of joy and in times of loss. Our success has been measured not by the bottom line, but by our unwavering commitment to protecting our customers so they can continue their important work. Thank you for helping each other. Thank you for helping our communities. Thank you for your dedication to serving and inspiring others.
We want to say thank you to Church Mutual for, again, helping to sponsor last week's Lamb's Agenda bilingual virtual conference, where we talked about how we can reconcile the message of Billy Graham with the March of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., dedicated 6 full days to life, religious liberty, biblical justice, Hispanic education, welcoming the stranger, and prayer. Thank you, Church Mutual, for helping to put on that conference with us. We're so grateful for all you do. Now I want to begin to talk to you about another item that we discussed last week, and we're going to continue to discuss this all the way pretty much through November, and that is the release and launch of Reverend Samuel Rodriguez's new book, From Survive to Thrive. I want to go ahead and encourage you. There is a link in the description of this post that talks about Pastor Sam's new book and how you can access it. In fact, we want to encourage you right now to take the moment. Pastor Sam's new book will launch in November, but you have an opportunity now to pre-order your copy of From Survive to Thrive, How to Live a Holy, Healthy, Healed, Happy, Humble, Hungry, and Honoring Life. If that message resonates with you, I want to encourage you to go to www.samuelrodriguezbooks.com and pre-order your copy. It's available on Amazon, on Google, on various other platforms and bookstores. But this message is so important, and we believe that it is a timely message. What does that mean? We are in the midst still of a pandemic. We are in the midst of a tumultuous election season. And there are so many things that many people are wrestling with financially, emotionally, spiritually, in their marriages, with their kids. And the tendency can be in this mindset, as it might be through a quarantine season, is just how let's just get through this. Let's just get by. Let's just make it one more day. Let's just make it just to the end, to this afternoon. Let's just make, but we want to be able to relieve ourselves of that mindset. We want to be able to tell you that God is not simply calling us to survive, but He's calling us to thrive in the name of Jesus. Pastor Sam's new book is going to be set to release in November, and we would encourage you to pick up a copy, to go ahead and pre-order that copy at samuelrodriguezbooks.com. And we are sure, and I guarantee you, this book is going to encourage you and radicalize you so that you are living the best life you can live, not living a life that's simply built on survival, but on thriving. So we want to encourage you to take a moment, visit www.samuelrodriguezbooks.com to pre-order your copy of From Survive to Thrive. Right now, we are putting together a launch team. If you want more information about that launch team, you can message us, send us a direct message. We'll send you information on how you can join that launch team so we can share this message, not simply within the NHCLC community, but also with those that are being touched by the NHCLC and who will be touched by this message and by the book that Reverend Samuel Rodriguez is set to release in November. Right now, I want to move to a very, very important topic. Right now, in many of our states, in many uh, early voting has started. And I want to go ahead and I want to share a quick video with you from a friend of ours, Jackie Velasquez, encouraging you to vote. Please watch this video with us.
Velasquez, this November we have a very important election coming up. Some would say probably the most important election of our lifetime. Whew! I hope that you'll remember that when you vote, you're not just voting for a person, you're voting for the values that that person represents. Don't forget that. As Christians, we have a responsibility to move beyond party colors and look beyond individual personalities and to consider how that individual cares for or represents the biblical values that are dear to us. Values like life, our freedom to worship, and caring for the poor. This November and in every election, I encourage you to vote your values, to vote your faith. Make a pledge to vote this November and learn more about how to vote your faith at myfaithvotes.org. That's myfaithvotes.org.
Thank you so very much for that message, Jackie Velasquez. If you want to find out more information, there are a couple links you can go to. You can visit myfaithvotes.org. They have a wealth of resources there. But I want to encourage you to not simply visit the website. I want to encourage you to make a pledge to vote this November. And the way that you can do that is by visiting the website that's at the bottom of your screen. And this link is in our description of this post. But if you visit this website, let me go ahead and pull it up and so you can see what it looks like when you visit this website. Here we go. When you visit the website that's at the bottom of the screen, act.myfaith.org/NHCLC/pledge, you will be immediately taken to this page where it tells you to pledge to vote. And you can see our logos, My Faith Votes and NHCLC. We partnered because we want to encourage you to pledge to vote this November. When you hit on pledge, it'll take you to a place where you put your first name, your last name, you get enter your zip code and put an email address, and you're going to receive a lot of information that will help you to vote biblically, that will help you to know about the polling locations in your area, that will tell you about important elections that are coming up in the season and cycle, not simply this November, but beyond. And this will make you an engaged voter, an engaged Christian voter. And that's what this nation needs. Sadly, 25 million Christians do not plan to vote in November. That's 25 million votes. That's 25 million voices that are not being heard. We do not want you to waste your chance to shape our nation. And so we want to encourage you to make the pledge to vote this November. And I want to go ahead and encourage you towards another resource made available by My Faith Votes. And as I mentioned, you can visit myfaithvotes.org and you will get a lot of information about how you can think, pray, act on voting. And it's just a great
Este año únete a nosotros en vivo el 7 de noviembre. Traeremos el evento Better Man directamente a tu hogar, presentando invitados especiales: La Cray, Mariano Rivera, Daryl Strawberry, Sam Rodríguez y Johnny W. Ven a experimentar lo que realmente significa ser un mejor hombre. Regístrate en línea en bettermanevent.com.